Welcome back to the guest list. I'm now joined by Anita from Vinka Design. Welcome, Anita.
Welcome, thank you.
Now, Vinka Design, you guys have been around for quite some time. Tell me about the history of Vinka Design.
It started with my mother Vinka, and when she saw the bridal market when she got married, she basically couldn't believe how there wasn't really any motivation, any innovation, shall we say. There was patterns, there were dressmakers. There wasn't really anything professionally done. And as a designer, you know, for herself and in a small way for others, she bought a little shop with a dressmaker and then decided to, you know, to start bridal design and special occasion. And she started in Hamilton, then grew into Auckland, and then my father got into publishing bridal magazines before anyone ever thought of it. In the early 60s, and it just went from there. They started importing fabrics, and because there wasn't any, and you had to have an import license of these beautiful laces and embroideries from all over the world, and then they sold up and down the country to bridal fabric shops, and then they had a pattern making service. So they were so forward and so directionally focused to helping New Zealand brides for the last, two generations. So this is making it the third generation of people actually having some connection to Vinka.
So tell me, what is your involvement with Vinka Design?
Well, having grown up with Vinka, being a designer, my mother being a designer, you know, I couldn't help but sort of entertain myself in the workroom. I learnt watching her, and then of course, as soon as I could, I was actually trying to get involved and of course she had me doing the lowest of all jobs, and of course I'm still doing the lowest of all jobs. I'm still making veils and still doing the cleaning and bits and pieces, but you know, the reality is there's a real passion for what we do, and you know, I have to keep going. You know, it's just something we love doing.
You make the most amazing gowns.
Thank you.
And there's definitely a style that's kind of your signature style.
I think it's our fit. I think we're really well known for our fit, and actually they're comfortable, but the gowns actually flatter. Mm-hmm. They don't actually, you know, ride up and down with wear and move around, and we're really into enhancing the female form. That's our little happy place.
Yeah, I think it shows as well. I mean, just looking at the gowns that are on these mannequins now, you can just see that they fit the form very beautifully.
I know, but you know, like if you've got a good little butt, you want to show that off.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to, you want everyone to say, you know what, I have got a lovely figure. You don't want to look like it's all like you're trying too hard, but you do want to show that you've got this beautiful figure. And even if you don't, you want a gown that's going to enhance you and make you look better and better than you've ever looked. You know, so, you know, if you've got a beautiful back, and it's just about giving something that you look back at those photos and go, oh, that was such a beautiful gown and I still love it. And, you know, that's how it should be. And it was me. You know, you're not trying to be something you're not.
I totally agree. Now let's talk about the design process. What is your design process when somebody first walks through the door in Queen Street?
Well, often people come in with no idea, or they've got so many ideas that they're just a little bit overwhelmed. I don't know, what do I do? And basically looking through the range, is quite an extensive range we've got of all individual one-off gowns. So that sort of leads them in a direction where the lights come on, they can see, actually, that looks really, really good. And then they might go, but you know what, I don't like that sort of fabric, or I'm not into sparkles, or I really wanted something, I don't know, whatever colour or whatever. And so that's my job, is to interpret all that and then create it. I'm not trying to sell this dress. I mean, it'll sell itself. But if the right girl, if it doesn't flatter in the way it should do, then we need to go back to the drawing board and go, you know what, if we did this and cut that a little bit different here, then that would look incredible and suit you better. It's actually made by us, and I have the most amazing team working with me. We've been together forever under Vinka before she got sick and couldn't sort of be in the business anymore.
I think it's a really important point that you just made, though, is that the person that comes to you and deals with you, you are making their dress.
Yeah, it's not lost in that translation. So hopefully, you know, I'm sort of, and if it's a good idea and I just think that's going to look insane, are you serious? And if I don't actually believe it's going to flatter her, I just think I'm the wrong designer, and I'll say so. I think, you know what, probably better to find somebody else to do that rather than, or I'll try and gently persuade her to do something I think perhaps be a bit more flattering. Because if they don't have that look in the end result, then they're going to look at me and go, well, why did you say? So why do we want that? It's our label on the back of them, so we want that to be the most incredible gown she's ever worn.
I think that honesty policy is a very, very good one to have.
If we can't have a working relationship of honesty, then it's not going to work. Just think, where was her family? Who was the person who sold that dress to her? How could they do that to her? Absolutely. I mean, even if it was an imported gown, who altered it and said, we can do this for you? You know, they must look at a dress and go, you know what, this isn't going to look like it should look. You really need to start again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's the sad thing is I don't think there's enough honesty out there. People are just like, you know what, I can make some money out of this and just let it go.
Yeah.
And it's when those photos come back, or when they, you know, when they see the end result and they go, oh my gosh, why didn't somebody say? And it's sort of squeezed into a dress, or it's hanging off them, or it's just so gapey around the bust that it looks like you could put the dinner plate with all the food down there and it's still wriggling around, and you just think that's not how it should look.
Now, let's talk about the imported versus bespoke, because you do bespoke. That's what
Correct.
you do.
Yeah,
and you do it exceedingly well.
It's so tempting to get into the imported gowns because there's a definite price advantage, huge price advantage, but it's not the same thing. And it's okay, it has to be for some people, that's their budget and that's all they can afford. Then, you know, I wish them well, but for those who are prepared to spend a little bit more money on them, on the end result, then, you know, that's where we are. But then, to be fair, some of them, they come at a certain price. They come in a little box. They spend how much getting it steamed, if those creases will actually come out, and then the altering, and then is it going to look right, and the fittings, and so all that they're paying extra. And so sometimes they're saying, you know what, I spent all this money and it's still not the dream of my
dress of my dreams. Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of these beautiful, beautiful gowns that you have in here. The fabrics that you have?
The fabrics come from all over. You know, some of these fabrics I've got on the top end, $1,500 a metre.
Wow.
But I mean, it looks incredible and you don't need much. But if that's your happy place, the next girl will go, that's whoa, way too much. Yeah. You know, and they just want something simple, and we can show them a lace for $100, you know, so it doesn't matter. It's what makes that gown and what makes that bride her gown.
So the kind of dress that we've got here,
yes.
What would you describe this as?
Well, it's a sort of a long line fitted bodice with a bit of a cheeky, you know, sort of an uplift on the bottom there. And then you've got this sort of full crazy skirt going on, which is adding a bit of drama. But then one girl will turn up and say, oh, I love that, but I don't like the skirt. It's too full and fluffy for me. I like soft and drapey, and that's cool. We just swap that out. So, and like I've done an illusion sort of back.
Back is
simply we're looking at that lace, it's stunning. But then another person will say, I want something else. Or they've got a big scar or a tattoo or something, and they go, look, I'm not sure.
And this one here,
that's an incredible lace. And I just love the floral and the soft, and then I've put a blush silk underneath that just to give it just a bit of warmth. Interestingly, when you see gowns in daylight, they actually get bleached right out. They all look white. Even this will sort of photograph in a really light shade. But the fall of this lace and the drape of it, I just think is the most amazing effect.
And I just like what's that little detail in there.
A little bit of Swarovski just to throw it in.
Beautiful.
I mean, clearly she likes bling if she likes this dress.
Absolutely.
So a little bit more drama. I've given a little bit of a
I like that little, the little collar's nice.
It's a very simple line. The lace is busy, so you don't need to do much. But she might just, one bride might say, look, I don't want strapless, I want shoulders, easy. Or they just want a chiffon skirt and just forget all that. You know, so it doesn't really matter. Or they might just want a big full, you know, it comes down to giving inspiration to brides, and then that's, you know, we sort of toss ideas around until we get to the right conclusion. I've seen girls come in with their own dress to choose accessories, because I've got the most beautiful range of accessories, and again, different jeweler, you know, and they're not, some of them are imported, they're very inexpensive, and I've got some little small and intricate handmade pieces with Swarovski and rhodium plated, and, you know, different platings on it to give different effects. And flowers and all sorts of and fascinators, all sorts of bits and pieces. And so they come and choose to finish their dress. And you see some of these gowns, And, you know, it's fantastic for me because we're like, oh, wow, that's terrible. But I mean, you're not saying it to her, but she needs to make it look better.
Yeah.
And you can see in her little face, she's like, oh, it's not as she wanted it, but she has to make do. So the accessories are helping with that.
Now, bespoke, obviously they come at a cost. So
Well,
what sort of range are we looking at?
Realistically, for bespoke, you're looking at late 3s to, you know, in the 5s really. But most girls spending between 4 and 5 as an average. But it really comes down to the fabrics. Like this fabric is not cheap. So if you got so much of it there, well, of course it's going to be a little bit more. But you surely have then seen the value of it.
Absolutely.
But if they say, look, I don't have that sort of budget, what can we do? Well, if we eliminated this, changed that, blah, blah, blah. So this is how we can sort of dumb it down a little bit to get that effect. But no matter what you do, is like the laces, there's huge difference. There's could be $800 in a metre of fabric. So, okay, well, this is a good alternative. What do you think? So that's a really good way of doing it. And often I'll give a bride a beaded version and an unbeaded version.
Great.
And so the same design, which how incredible is that? And so she can think about it. Do I value that or not? Does it matter to me or not? Or they may want a little bit of beading on this part, but then this plain. So this is where we really try and work. So the gown is exactly what the bride needs financially as well.
Fantastic.
But she's not paying for all these extras on top of it to make it look better. You know, it's actually the cost of the gown, and it's not like it's a big surprise to try and tighten it up with all these other things to make it pretty.
So you're making it work on both ends.
It's sometimes said by someone who's quite flippant about it and go, wedding dress, you know, she's only going to wear it for half a day, what's the point, you know, why spend the money? And it's like, well, she'll never ever forget how she felt on that day. It's the most significant day she'll ever have in her life. I don't care what. It's so important. These girls have put so much energy into planning this wedding, as you would know, and so much love and so much thought. So it's like her little armour plating, really. You know, it's if she's looking good, she knows she looks good. She doesn't have to be thinking about a dress. She's just out there having a great day and planning, you know, enjoying every moment, and without, you know, fidgeting and rearranging it and trying to tweak it all the time and fidget with it. I mean, that's terrible. But these girls will never look at those photos and think, God, what was I thinking? You know, you're there, and, you know, 20 years later, 50 years later, these mums and nanas are coming in going, oh, I love my dress, or it was the most beautiful fabric in you know, and they can relive it like a birthing story. Yeah. Or there's this story of, oh, my dress, it was terrible, or oh, my mother made the dress, or my auntie made the dress, or something.
And there was a drama attached to it.
Oh, and it was what my mother wanted. I didn't like it, and then I had to wear this jolly thing. And you know, and it's quite polarised. They're either loving their gown and they've got this amazing story, or they've got this really sad one, and you never forget it. So it isn't. It's money well spent.
Anita, what's the best way for brides to come and find you? Would it be on the website? Do they come and pop in and see you?
Either way would be fantastic, but the website is vinkadesign.co.nz, or they can phone us. We love a conversation, that's great.
Anita, thank you so much for coming in and chatting to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've been talking to Anita from Vinka Design.